everyone, it's time for another live look at the astrology. My name is Katie Sweetman, and this is your look at the astrology for August, August 18th through 24th, 2025. So we are coming to the end of Leo season this week. We will be in Virgo season by next Friday, the 22nd. So we're sort of in between things, and furthermore, we are actually also coming to the end of the lunar month this week. So as we move from Virgo season, we also happen to be moving from a Leo lunar month to a Virgo lunar month. And this is a Virgo new moon on August 23rd that I've had my eye on for a while because it has a lot of question marks for me as an astrologer and sort of what it is opening up for us, which I will explain. And for those that are watching live, do say hello. It's always good to see where everybody is watching from. And for those that don't know who I am, again, my name is Katie Sweetman, and I'm an astrologer and psychic medium located here in the rolling hills of Central Maryland. And every week we gather live to look at the astrology. And you hear me say it every week. The astrology is 50%. You are the other 50%. So how do we work with this time and this energy? And I may have said this last week. I can't remember. I was thinking my brain was still coming off of vacation, and my mic wasn't working for the first minute and a half. So that's why I was, anyway, here we are. So let's go back to, let's say, the end of 2024. And when I was looking ahead to the year, in this case 2025, it seemed to break down into three parts. I want to say easy parts, but I don't know if the easy is the right word. And each part was really driven by a particular planetary aspect. Say it fast 3 times. And when I looked ahead to the year, it seems like the first sort of section or the first stage of 2025 was going to take us from about the beginning of November, believe it or not, and all the way into the end of May. And this stage was going to be really driven by Mars. I know I'm going back a little bit, but 2025 we had Mars retrograde. It went into Leo at the beginning of November. That's why I said November. It turned retrograde on December 6th. And then it turned direct on and back in, gosh, I think it was the end of February of 2025. But while it did that, it was opposite Pluto. So there was this planetary aspect pattern that was very much driving our experiences the first 6 months of the year. And Mars and Pluto are a lot of things, but I think deep down inside, we needed to do a lot of clearing work the first 6 months of this year. That means different things to different people. It's to go within, it's to release. Pluto gets into the deepest psychic parts of ourselves, and Mars is power and drive and motivation. Sometimes Mars on the flip side can be complacency and not taking action. And so there was a bit of a push the first 6 months of the year that then brought us to the second stage of the year. And June and July and August are sort of their own section because one, this is the months that Saturn is in Aries in 2025. So end of May, June and July and August. So Saturn is really, Saturn's always the planet to pay attention to. I'm sure you've heard me say this in previous updates, but Saturn is sort of marking the time and saying, some of our experiences, June and July and August, are actually setting the stage and planting the seeds for 2026, 2027, and the very beginning of 2028, because those are the years that Saturn will be back in Aries. Then this brings me to this new moon, August 23rd, and why I had my eye on it. Because one of the things that makes 2025 and even 2026 very interesting is that they are years, you could kind of rope 2024 in as well, they are years where outer planets that haven't changed signs for 10 years, 7 years, 20 years, are now changing signs within a short period of time. So this is not the first time I'm saying this, but this is why 2025 is the start of a new era. What era? I don't know, because it's like looking at the clock, and the hands on the clock are all changing signs around the same time. One of those planets is Uranus. And Uranus, it went into Gemini back on July 7th. It has not been in Gemini since approximately 80 years. That's a long time because Uranus takes 84 years to go through the zodiac, 84 years to go around the sun. So Uranus will spend 7 years in each zodiac sign. If you are a Scorpio or a Taurus, you know all what I'm talking about because Uranus and Taurus since 2018, 2019 has been very interesting. Uranus changed signs July 7th. And the thing about astrology is that even though we have that change of sign a couple of months ago, we haven't really fully had a chance to let's say, dialogue with Uranus and Gemini. It's there. I think our experiences have been influenced, or maybe the conversations we're having or the ideas we're having, but it hasn't really come into phase or hasn't come into reality, so to speak. Astrology is really built upon, at least on a day-to-day level, by the lunar cycle. If you want to learn astrology, learn the lunar cycle, learn Saturn, of course, but it's the lunar cycle that's really setting us up each 4 weeks at a time, and then these sort of larger 6-month periods between solar eclipse to solar eclipse. So the lunar month, which means a new moon, it happens and it creates like a lens. And it's depending on the planets and the archetypes that are being activated that can talk about the kind of lens of experience that we will have over the next 4 weeks. This Virgo new moon, for example, Virgo is an energy and an archetype, even if you're like, but I'm not a Virgo. You have Virgo somewhere in your astrology, and Virgo just as an energy of living. We all clean things, we all organize things. I know Virgo is so much more than that. But we're all going to, over the next 4 weeks, really live life through the lens of Virgo, Virgo new moon. So it sets the stage. The new moon also brings the energy, this is why I was talking about Uranus, it brings the energy of Uranus in Gemini into the forefront. And so if you know anything about astrology, Uranus is what's called an evolutionary planet. It's one of the modern planets, and its role is to get us to grow and evolve. It talks about reinventions, doing things differently, sometimes making a very quick change or needing to go off in a very different direction. So like I said, past couple of months, Uranus has been sitting there in Gemini and sort of, again, planting seeds. Maybe we've been having certain ideas or certain, like, you know what, I need to do this or want to do that or I want to go this way. And now with the Virgo new moon, Uranus energy gets seeded into the next 4 weeks. So this is why I've had my eye on this new moon, because it is the same lunar month, so the one that begins on August 23rd on a Saturday, that will be punctuated by a Pisces lunar eclipse on September 7th, and then the next lunar month is a solar eclipse, also in Virgo, which doesn't happen very often. This will be a Virgo solar eclipse on September 21st at 29 degrees. So the one on Saturday is at 0 degrees. The one on the 21st is at 29 degrees. It's opposite ends of the sign. So we have these two Virgo moons. So in short, September, at least I'm saying this as an astrologer, I'm looking at all the different things on the table. September is going to be really interesting. It is possible that new things are coming into our life, new ideas, new perspectives, but perhaps new ideas and perspectives that aren't so new because they've been percolating over the last couple of months. Uranus, it demands authenticity. Sort of my stock example is we sort of wake up one day with Uranus like, why am I in this job? Why am I in this marriage? Why am I still living here? And that's why Uranus has a reputation for making quick changes. If you happen to be in your 40s or approaching your 40s, but there's a reason the 40s is a time of, quote unquote, the midlife crisis, because ages 40 to 45 approximately is a time of rapid personal growth that corresponds with the midpoint, 42 years, of that 84-year cycle. So it's a time in our 40s, for example, just to kind of give it a real world example, where we make big changes sometimes. We go off in a different direction. We make a career change. So that energy, even though I'm talking about a particular life passage, is going to be in our experiences, in the energy, in the ethers, whatever energy you want to use as we go through September, plus eclipses, question mark, question mark. So we've got things on the horizon. I just don't know. If you are a mutable sign, these are my Geminis, these are my Virgos, these are my Sagittarius, these are my Pisces. Life is going to start to shift in different directions. That's just the way that it works. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's one of the reasons why I have my eye on this new moon. And because of the eclipses, it really drives the narrative as we go through the rest of the year and even into the new year, because our next eclipse after the one in September will be the solar eclipse on February 17th of 2026. Interestingly, because I was thinking about this the other day, I was like, where are the eclipses next year? And I realized that one on February 17th is actually at the end of Aquarius. So we are beginning to get new eclipses into the narrative, but I don't want to jump ahead to 2026. In the meantime, we still got these eclipses on the horizon. We've got a lunar eclipse at 15 Pisces on September 7th, and again, that solar eclipse at 29 degrees of Virgo in 21st of September. So Virgo, I realize it's not quite Virgo season, but we are coming to the end of Leo season. Virgo season begins on the 22nd. Leo is the sign of the sun. It's a season for us to get back in touch with the things that light us up, that give us joy, that give us passion. There's a reason we all go on vacation or holiday. It's a time to get creative, to play, to have fun. It doesn't mean that we stop being creative or playing or having fun when the sun goes into Virgo, but Virgo is what's called an earth sign. Leo is fire sign, and fire is the element that comes before earth. I actually really love the interplay between Leo and Virgo, because Leo is like, I got these passions, I got these ideas, creativity, and Virgo says, let's make it real. Let's ground it. Let's put it into something. Let's take that passion and we'll put it into a craft or something that is real and tangible. Each sign in astrology supports the next. So Leo supports Virgo. So we are hopefully recharged, refilled with the energies of the sun. And then we take it to Virgo. We take it to the energies of Mercury, because Mercury rules Virgo. And we make something real with it. Virgo season has an earth sign as what's called a yin earth sign. It's the yin earth sign. It is the other side of the coin from Gemini, also ruled by Mercury, which is yang. This is about connecting to our intuition. Virgo is very famous for its analysis, its ability to sort of see all the moving parts generally. And it's a time when we need to take an analysis, so to speak, of our own lives. What's working? What's not working? With the energies of Leo still with us, how do we rearrange or reprioritize things as we go into September? The thing about the eclipses is that we have the south node of the moon also in Virgo. And so it's a little bit complicated, because wherever the south node is, that area means that we have some work to do. There's something about the past, perhaps something unfinished. So this Virgo season comes with a tinge. This is our first Virgo season with the south node in Virgo for 18, 19 years. So this Virgo season comes with the tinge of needing maybe to go back to old projects, to see things differently. Virgo is very driven to help, to serve, to heal. It's very grounded. It's very pragmatic. But we can't forget that the north node of the moon, which is the other side of the sky, is over in Pisces. Pisces is the magic. Virgo is the practicality. Virgo is the craft. Pisces is the belief in something better. Pisces is a lot of things. Of course, there's highs and lows of each sign of the zodiac. But I love that beautiful interplay between Virgo and Pisces, because it's always about finding the balance between heaven, Pisces, and earth, Virgo. And I've probably said this at some point over the years, with Virgo Pisces, it cannot be so practical that it loses its magic. It It can't be so magical that it loses its practicality. So we have to find the balance between both as we go through this season. With the eclipses on the horizon, we have a storyline that perhaps has been with us since last year. We had our first eclipse in Pisces, September 17th of 2024. We had a Virgo lunar eclipse on March 14th, 2025. And this, on some level, is continuing the narrative. These eclipses take us all the way back to 2006, 2007, when we had eclipses in Virgo Pisces. That's the full cycle ago. That half cycle was 2016 and 2017. We can even go back to 1997, I think 1998. Probably like 1988 before that, 1989, if I'm going way back, because eclipses, they repeat over a longer arc of time. So, in short, September is going to be very interesting for me as an astrologer who happens to have a lot of planets and angles in the mutable signs. I'm like, what's going to happen? Because Uranus energy demands some sort of transformation. If you are stuck and you're like, Katie, I feel so stuck. Well, here is your planet. Uranus doesn't like it when we are stuck. And sometimes it helps us to see why we are stuck. It could be a fear about moving forward. It could be a belief about ourselves. And Uranus is not sentimental. It doesn't care that something happened to you. It's like, no, present moment. So it's like pushing us ahead in 2025 and particularly in September. So yeah, like I said, Uranus has not been in Gemini in 80 years, in the 1940s. It's been a long time. It is a different time, but it is an energy where we are seeing some cycles come back into play. That said, with these eclipses coming up, I typically do a webinar. I'm in the spirit of Uranus. I'm going to do things a little bit differently, and I'm going to do a workshop, a 3-hour workshop. This will be on September 6th, so a Saturday from 1 p.m. Eastern to 3 p.m. Eastern approximately. And it's meant to create, perhaps this is the part of me that's very Virgo Pisces, to create that sacred space for us to be able to connect with the planets, to dialogue with them, to connect to our higher intelligence, our intuition, and to listen for what these eclipses and beyond, Uranus, for example, means for us. I use a system in my astrology. When I try to speak and teach about astrology, I use something that I call the 12 rooms approach. And this is to create this idea of astrology is both time, but it's also space. And we will enter the sacred space. We'll enter these 12 rooms so we can connect to the different planets that are there within our own astrology, but the sky right now. You can register or get more information about this workshop. It will be, again, on Saturday, September 6th online. It will be recorded for replay. You can go to my website, empoweringastrology.com, to learn more, to register. You can send an email if you have questions, empoweringastrology@gmail.com. So there you go, because I think when I do my work on a very one-on-one or even a group setting, it's always more powerful in a group setting because the energy changes. It allows for openings and transformations. So I'm really looking forward to being able to host that workshop with you all, and I hope you can join me so we can create sort of a sacred circle, so to speak. So let's look at each of the 12 zodiac signs so we can talk about where this Virgo new moon is taking place in your astrology. So starting with Aries. Aries, so Mars is your planet. So Mars, as you remember, since August 6th, I think it's been in Libra. That's kind of a very interesting place for your planet to be because it's in a sign that is opposite you. Opposite's not bad. It's just sort of creates a bit of a tension. The focus right now for you is relationships, meaning you can't fly solo, so to speak. It's a time for you to connect with people, to make relationship, to negotiate and compromise. And that's the thing about Aries energy. Typically, it's great with leading, taking action, going after what it wants. But there are these periods where, because of where Mars is, it's about what other people need. So it's a back and forth. It's a negotiation. What's interesting, I think I said this last week, is that Mars is picking up on that March 29th solar eclipse in Aries. So I don't know if anything is sort of coming up from March or even coming up from July. But again, this is about relationships. This is about you. This is about new beginnings, new seasons in your life. And we are now, let's say, 2 weeks left with Saturn in Aries. So June and July and August of 2025 was your, or was, or will be your preview for 2026-7 and beginning of 2028. Take note, observe, look at your life. What are the themes that have been coming in over the last 2 months? Because the seeds for the future are being planted right now. When Saturn goes back into Pisces on the 1st of September, you will be wrapping up a story, which we'll come back to. But as for this Virgo Virgo new moon, this Virgo new moon will be in something called your 6. And the 6 is a space that's very much where Virgo does its work of organization, projects, health, and wellness. We all have a duty in life. We have a duty to other people. We have a duty to taking care of our lives. We have a duty to keeping things running and organized. If you are a parent, you know all about keeping things organized. For example, of course, not everybody's a parent. So this is a time with the Virgo new moon where the big focus, and I even take this into September because we will have a solar eclipse here, is your day-to-day life. Whether you need to make changes in how you run things or refocus your priorities, or maybe, especially with Mars over in Libra, you're thinking about service and helping people. How do you show up? How do you be present? How do you help other people, for example? For some Aries, it's really about your physical health and wellness. It's to stop doing something that maybe isn't supporting your health and wellness. It's about doing more of what is supporting your health and wellness. For example, Mars was in this space. This was throughout the second half of June and July, very beginning of August. So Mars was sort of giving you some insights, I think, across the board, not just health and wellness, about the areas that are really going to come to the forefront in September and beyond. Taurus. Taurus, so Venus is your planet, and so Venus is still in Cancer. Next week it goes into Leo, and it's still it's kind of close to that Jupiter. We had the Venus-Jupiter conjunction last week. That's not to say everything was beautiful and perfect. I know there was a lot of promise online about the Venus-Jupiter conjunction, but it's just a really nice aspect that for you is favoring friendships. Wait, gotta do my astrology math. Voice and communication and how you think and listen and learn. The focus right now, it might be a little bit of a busy time to be a Taurus. Maybe you have lots of things to do. Maybe there's travel. Maybe you're going around places in your neighborhood. But maybe this is a time where you've just had a lot to say, whether you need to communicate something, or with Jupiter also in Cancer, maybe you have something to teach, something to share. Maybe you got a soapbox that you've been standing on the past couple of weeks, but it's going to be a bit of a different pace when Venus goes into Leo starting next week, because then the focus shifts towards home and family. For you, Taurus, with the Virgo new moon, Virgo is something called your 5th sign. So the 5th, it's an earth sign, just like you, Taurus. Virgo is an earth sign. And so when the new moon is in the 5th, it really depends on sort of what's going on in your life, but sort of the general theme is about identity and self. The 5th is this beautiful place that really helps us to get back in touch with the things that light us up and give us joy and give us passion. Kind of sounds like Leo season, because you're sort of won over from Aries, so you sort of get this, delayed in a way season. But who are you? What are the things that light you up and give you joy and give you passion? Do you feel burnt out, for example? This new moon, and even the eclipse to come, is about prioritizing you. It doesn't mean that you sort of put everybody to aside, but don't forget about you. Don't forget about the things that light you up and give you joy and give you passion. For some, it really gets into these bigger questions about self and identity. Who are you? And for some, and I realize this is not going to be everybody, but for some, it is about children and perhaps even a pregnancy or having a child. That said, Taurus, with these eclipses that are coming up, it's also really trying to open up your eyes to the future, the things that perhaps are your what you want to head towards, and the things that how you want to help and how you want to heal in the world. And maybe if you feel really called to do something in the world right now, again, don't forget about the things that light you up and give you joy and give you passion, because that is what's going to fuel you in the world. Gemini, so Mercury is your planet. It's in Leo as we talk right now. It made that really interesting opposition to Pluto last week. So, a little check-in, like how you're feeling, what were the conversations like last week, what are the feelings and thoughts last week, because Pluto was hitting on some deeper points with you. That said, and this is a big new moon for you, Gemini. This new moon is in something called your fourth. It's about home, family, roots, foundation. I think it's worthwhile to go back to mid-June, July, into the very beginning of August, because Mars was going through this space. What is the state of your home environment? Or maybe where is home and who is home? A new moon in this space, it says that over the next 4 weeks, there may be a change in the household. There could be a move, or maybe somebody's moving in, or somebody's moving out, or family takes the priority in your life. There will be an eclipse in this space as well. But this is a new moon that will directly connect to Uranus and Gemini. Hey, you are a Gemini or a Gemini rising. And so Uranus in your sign says that you have started a 7-year story of reinventing yourself. This is going to mean different things to different Gemini risings, and not everyone will live it in sort of bold or even dramatic ways. But if you are stepping up to 2025 stuck outside of yourself, getting in your own way, needing a change, this is the energy that's been really seeding something over the past 2 months, ever since Uranus went into Gemini on July 7th. Again, Uranus is going to be here for a long time, although in 2025 only until November, I think, 7th. But that said, we haven't really had a chance to directly know what Uranus and Gemini is about. So this new moon is at 0 degrees of Virgo. Uranus right now, as I speak, is at 1 degree of Gemini. So that's what's called a 1-degree orb. That's very tight in astrology. And 90 degrees, what's called a square, I know I'm being a little bit technical for a moment, and squares are not bad, but squares are about manifestation, something becoming real and manifested in your life. So there may be a push to make a change over the next 4 weeks. There may be something about home or family. Maybe you want to reinvent yourself. Maybe you want to go off in a new direction. But like I said, this will mean different things to different Geminis or Gemini risings. I'm always the advocate for observing, listening and observing, and just taking note of what is beginning to come up. What are you feeling? What's coming out of left field? And starting to get a sense of what this can mean for you. Cancer. So the moon is your planet. And so this week, the moon has gone from the very end of Gemini. Today, I think it's now in Cancer as I speak. And you sort of start the week off, depending on what time zone you're in, of course, with a sense of new beginnings and moving forward. You have 2 planets in your sign right now. You have Jupiter, you have Venus. Venus will be there at least for another week. Jupiter will be there for another 8 months, 9 months. But this is a time where maybe you're really feeling the energies of Venus and Jupiter. It's about negotiation, compromise, beauty, socialization, connection. Maybe you're really enjoying meeting new people, going places. And Jupiter in your sign, typically you really want to sort of go out into the world and see new sights when Jupiter is in your sign. That said, we have a Virgo new moon, and this Virgo new moon is putting the focus for the next 4 weeks on voice communication and how you think and listen and learn. Now, this will be different things to different Cancer risings. On one hand, maybe it's about travel. You've got a lot of things planned. You're doing a lot of travel exploration over the next 4 weeks. And maybe typically this is the time of year for you to do that. For some Cancer rising, it could be a little bit philosophical, like how do I use my voice? How do I speak? How do I communicate? Of course, that's more logistical. But, sort of my joke when there's a story that's happening in the third room is don't be a cover artist in your own life. Use your voice. There's only one you, for example. This new moon, I think it also gets into voice, but it also gets into intuition, because as of July 7th, you have Uranus in your 12th sign, and anything in the 12th is behind the scenes. It's hidden, and you're not going to see Uranus, very overtly for the next 7 years, because again, your Uranus is going to be in your 12th sign. But what Uranus is doing on a very subtle level is opening up something spiritually or intuitively. It really depends on the person. So this new moon could talk about voice, this ability perhaps just to speak your intuition, to have this connection to not just your mental mind, but your spiritual mind as well. It could be travel in the sense of like, I need to, have more meaning and purpose in my life. Where do I want to go? What do I want to see? Typically, when there's a lot of activity in the space, things are a bit restless. You had Mars in the space middle of June to beginning of August. So I would look back at the last month and a half to sort of see what the seeds are. And maybe these are the things that the new moon is beginning to activate. Leo. So the sun is your planet. Happy birthday, Leo. I know that we got a few more days left of Leo season. So for those who have an end of the season birthday, happy birthday, Leo. And maybe if you're Leo rising, even if you're Leo rising, it's not your birthday, you get the personal restart of your year every time the sun goes through Leo. That's another topic for another time. That said, Leo season, other than the fact that it's your birthday, gives you a new beginning and a fresh start. I want to quickly go back to that Leo new moon that we had on July 24th, because it was a Leo new moon with a lot of power, because it was exactly opposite Pluto. Just for you, Leo, in your own time, reflect back on the last 4 weeks, 3.5, 4 weeks, like what has moved, shifted, what has, inside of you is needed to now transform, because that was a pretty heavy duty new moon, and it sort of puts you in something new. And this is something new that takes you even beyond the next 12 months. Virgo new moon is something called your second sign: money, income, material stability, and security. So a moon in this space can be very practical. It's a 4 weeks to focus on money, income, and resources. What you make, what you earn, how much you have, paying the bills, doing a budget, that sort of things. If it's not about cash money per se, it could be about resources. I need to make sure I have everything that I need. I want to create material stability and security. I want to gather. I want to organize. I want to take inventory. I want to buy things because I need to really invest in my material stability and security. For some Leos, it's neither. It could be about value and worth, whether that is self-worth and value, or this sort of general question of value and worth. Is it of value? Do I really want to spend my time on this? Do I really want to invest my money and my time on this? And then maybe that is how this new moon is coming up. Now, this new moon comes right before a solar eclipse in Virgo, September 21st. Even the lunar eclipse on September 7th is in your 8th. This could be very money and finance heavy as you go through the rest of September. Maybe some Leos are looking at investments and purchases. Maybe it's about reorganizing or restructuring their money. Maybe it's about your assets, your portfolio. Again, it's going to be different for different Leos. Oh, I should add, Leo, you do have that square to Uranus. Now, Uranus is not a major, or Gemini is not a major sign like it is for some of the other signs. Like you're coming off of Uranus and Taurus over the last 7 years that was really focusing on your career. If there's any changes, it could be changes in how you envision your future or the direction you want to take, or for some of you, it's about social issues and social causes and how you want to participate in this world. Virgo, happy early birthday, Virgo. So you're going to have a Virgo new moon. If it is your birthday, the 23rd, 24th, 25th, it is going to be a powerful new year for you. So this Virgo new moon, it sort of sets and starts your season. It doesn't always line up at the beginning of this. The Virgo season is the same as a new moon. It just happens to be this year. So it's a season, it's a time for you to hit the ground running. You had Mars in your sign from the middle of June and July into the very beginning of August. So in a way, you're already moving with Mars has already set things in motion, and maybe with Mars in June and July was really planting the seeds for this new moon and even the solar eclipse to come on September 21st. So this new moon says it's time for new beginnings. It's a time to reset and restart something. It could be your year, it could be your life, it could be a certain part of your life. The thing that is really important to look at with this new moon is that it's almost exactly square Uranus. So as of July 7th, I don't know where my voice is going. As of July 7th, you've had Uranus in your career sign. It will be there for the better part of 7 years. Yes, 7 years. It's just in 2025, it is from July to November. But you're in the early stages of something. It could be a career change. It could be a career 180. It could not be about career. It could be about your relationships with duty and responsibilities. It could be about your public life. The seeds have been planted over the last couple of months, and it may be that this new moon really sets it in action, in motion, and puts it in more into focus. It tells me as an astrologer, regardless, that especially with the eclipses, especially with Uranus in Gemini back in 2026 and beyond, is that you're entering a phase of your life where things could shift and perhaps look very different now as opposed to, let's say, the end of 2026, so about 13, 14, 15 months from now. So look to and observe and watch what are the stories that are beginning to come up for you, because they are important stories that are likely going to be with you beyond the coming month. Libra. So Venus is your planet, and Venus, it's still in Cancer. It'll be in Cancer until next week when it goes into Leo. So right now, wherever your planet is, it pulls your energy to that sign. And for you, Cancer is about career, your public life, your sense of duties and responsibilities, your maturity. So over the past couple of weeks, you've just been in a period of your astrology where perhaps more is being asked of you. You have to show up. You need to take things seriously. But, Cancer being Cancer, Venus is in Cancer right now, it's about the things that really matter, because Cancer is always like, I want, yes, duty and responsibility. Okay, check, but my heart has to be in it. I need to value it, for example. But this is a time, Jupiter is in your career sign at least until until July of 2026. So it's a time to expand your world, expand your professional life, expand your public life, taking on more duties and responsibilities, for example. Let's go back to Mars and Libra. So as of August 6th, Mars is in your sign, either your sun sign or your rising sign. Libra has this reputation for being a bit of a diplomat and trying to make sure everybody feels that they're getting what they need, and being very accommodating, which is a beautiful trait, don't get me wrong, but Mars is not a diplomat. And you have Mars in your sign until September 22nd. Sometimes Libra has been trying to play nice, or trying to hold it in, or trying not to say something that's going to ruffle too many feathers. And perhaps now with Mars and your sign, it's quite the opposite. So if you're suddenly feeling like you are saying things that you don't typically say, or doing things you don't, not too off out of range, of course, but Mars inspires, it empowers, it motivates. It says, okay, Libra, it's time to take the lead. It's time to take action. It's time to go after what you want. And even though we're phasing out of the eclipses that were in Aries and Libra in 2023 and 4, beginning of 5, this Mars in Libra is directly connecting to that solar eclipse in Aries back on March 29th. And so for you, Aries is your relationship sign, and that's an area that you saw a lot of changes and transformations perhaps in the last couple of years. And so it's Mars in your sign is about you, but perhaps it's also about relationships as well. We are beginning to go into we are in a different narrative with the eclipses, because the lunar eclipse solar eclipse that we will have in 4 weeks. And 4 weeks will be in something called your 12th sign. So every time the sun gets to Virgo, so around the 22nd of August each year, the sun begins to go through a sign that is the sign before Libra. It's something called your 12th. The 12th represents the end of the road, the end of a story, the end of your personal clock, your personal astrology clock. And it's a time to rest, to go within, to not push too hard, to reflect on the past 11 months, and to really prepare for the new beginnings when the sun goes into Libra and you start your season if you're a Libra sun, or you have that natural sense of new beginning if you are a Libra rising. Depending on who you are, it's to use this time it's a very spiritual time. It's a time to be alone, to reflect, to ask yourselves big questions, because anytime something goes through the 12th, we're trying to make sense of things. Why am I here? What is this all for? What is the meaning and purpose? Virgo is so driven by duty, helping people, and that energy is in a space that's more spiritual and outside this world. Libra, why are you here? What is the meaning and purpose of your life? I know I'm asking a big question that lots of philosophers have tried to answer over many, many years, but you are the only one that can answer this question for yourself. The 12th is a space that's very liminal. It is to let something go. It is to release. It is to say goodbye to one phase or stage of your life. It is to sweep away the past. It is to go into very subtle, quiet, and again, very spiritual places. With an eclipse in 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks in Pisces, this is about service, your role in the world. It could be about health and wellness and recuperation, and really trying to create a better health and wellness in your life. Scorpio. So Mars is your planet, and as of August 6th, Mars is in Libra. I was kind of saying this in a way to Libra, the previous sign, but it's always important for you to understand, and I've said this periodically throughout the years, is that with Mars as your planet, it pulls your energy through each of the 12 zodiac signs. Typically, Mars will be in a zodiac sign for 5 to 6 weeks. I said typically because earlier this year, even in last year, we had Mars in Leo for 6 months, for example. But that said, Mars in Libra, it's just 6 weeks. But Libra represents the end of your personal astrology. It's like you've come to the end of a great journey. We would have to go back 2 years when Mars was last in Scorpio. And that that was like the start of one personal chapter of your life, many chapters, of course. But when Mars is in Libra, you can't push. It's a time to rest. It's a time to listen. It's a time to recuperate or to sleep or depending on who you are. And in this very quiet, sacred time, you sort of say goodbye. It's my doggy. You say goodbye to one story or one stage, and you prepare for the next stage. So Mars will go into Scorpio on September 22nd. So that's like a personal reset and restart for the Scorpios and Scorpio risings. If you are feeling tired, rest. This is just very pragmatic. Mars in the 12th advice. If you're feeling tired, rest. Don't push. Take your vitamins, eat your vegetables, make time to meditate, because if Mars is the action and power of the sky, that's its role as a planet, the action and power is happening in a space that actually, ironically, is outside this world. On the other side of things, your intuition may be very active. It's a time to pay attention to your dreams, to listen to your higher self, your higher guidance, and to make sure that your power, your drive, your wants and needs are in alignment with either your higher self or something beyond. Again, you'll have that sort of reset and restart when Mars goes into Scorpio on September 22nd. That said, we have a Virgo new moon. This new moon will even have an eclipse in this space in 4 weeks. Virgo for you is something called your 11th sign. It's about community, your friends, your social circle. It's about your place in the world, how you feel about the world, your participation in the world. And Mars, your planet, did go through the space, Virgo, from the middle of June, July, and in the very beginning of August. So seeds were planted at that time that this new moon and even the eclipses will activate. The next 6 months and beyond are about your future, your directions, your community, perhaps needing to go back to something in the past, to heal something, release something. The South Node is in your 6th. That said, this new moon that I've been talking about, especially in the introduction with its square to Uranus, it's not hitting upon strongly your sign like it is some of the other signs. Like you'd have to go back because you've had Uranus and Taurus 2018, 2019, May 2018, March 2019, opposite you over the last 7 years. So it's like Scorpio, look at the version of your life, the version of who you were at the start of 2018. I am sure you are not the same. But that energy is beginning to pull away, thank God. But it's now concentrated in an area that's more about friends, it's your 8th. It's about really releasing and opening and getting into these deeper themes of trust, vulnerability, power, and control. And I know Scorpio is the sign of transformation and in letting things go. And my joke about Scorpio is that it will transform and let things go when it is good and well ready. So there might be a tension point this lunar month for you to let something go. Maybe it's a version of self, an aspect of self, but one that might be a little bit different than the future that you thought you were going to have, but perhaps in the long run, a much better future. Sagittarius, Jupiter is your planet, and Jupiter, as you know, it's been in Cancer since the beginning, June 9th, so beginning of June of 2025, so just a couple months ago. For you, Cancer is something called your 8th sign. So this continues to be and will be into 2026, where one of the dominating themes for you in your life right now is trust, vulnerability, power, control. It is about getting into the deepest psychic layers within your life. It is about transformations. This is the role of the 8th. It's a little bit of a heavier emotional energy, but it really depends on, the Sag, and sometimes with Sag, it really wants to be, it's like all in for the adventure, but maybe Sag is like, maybe it can, not do the ups and downs, the emotional ups and downs. But wherever Jupiter is, we gain so much wisdom from that sign. And so there's a lot of deep learning and discovery over the next, let's say, 10 months, going up until July 2026. It is a big time to be a Sag, and it has been for the last year or so because you had Saturn and Pisces. But the real star of the moment is Uranus in Gemini. So Uranus has been in your relationship sign since July 7th. So that's really barely even 2 months. And Uranus in Gemini has not been, unless you are in your late 70s or early 80s, it has not been in Gemini in your lifetime. What is happening what has happened over the last couple of months is that you are in the early stages of some sort of big transformation. Every Sag, of course, is going to live this differently. Our Sag rising is going to live this differently. But something about relationships, whether it's literal, whether it's a concept, will begin to shift quite powerfully over the coming years. With Uranus and Gemini the past 2 months, we haven't really had a direct chance to dialogue with what that energy means for us. So enter this new moon. So this new moon is in something called your 10th sign. Your career sign is both your career, your professional life, the title after your name. It is also your public life, your public reputation, your sense of duty and responsibility in the world. And so a new moon on a very basic level says that this area of your life is about, like, especially over the next 4 weeks and beyond, it's about your career. It's about career changes, things happening in your career, your public life, or needing to take on more duties and responsibilities in the world. And then we will have an eclipse here, so it's a big time. You had an eclipse here back on March 14th. But Mars did go through this space, middle of June all the way to beginning of August. So look to that time to kind of give you some seeds, sort of an idea of what this bigger story is about. But going back to Uranus, this new moon squares Uranus. So it's sort of on what are called on the angles for Sagittarius. And when things are on the angles, it's a big shift. What's going to happen? I don't know. I'm Sag rising. I don't know. But it's a time when it's possible that by, October, when we sort of see where things are landing, things on some level may look different. People may come into your life. Very new people may come into your life. And there may be a call to do relationships or an existing relationship very differently. You may feel the need to make some big change in your career, or you want to take your career in a different direction, or maybe people come into your life who directly have an impact on your career or your public life. So just take note what's coming up, because a lot of things are happening for Sag rising into 2026 and beyond. Capricorn. So Saturn is your planet, and Saturn, as I speak, it is at the very beginning of Aries. So we have sort of rewound, because Saturn went retrograde back on July 13th. We have rewound all the way to the beginning of the sign. If it's not 0 degrees, it's 1 degree. I don't have my astrology clock up. But Saturn governs you, it governs your life. And it's sort of saying that, and I've said this over the past however many weeks, that your priority in 2025, the middle of 2025, but 6 and 7 as well, is going to be the home or family or roots or foundation. And to begin to answer a question, or questions plural, where is home and who is home? It's not to say that it will be the same for every Capricorn, but you may move. You may need to take care of a family member. You may start a family. Somebody may move in. Somebody may move out. But June and July and August are sort of just the preview, so to speak, because then Saturn's going to return back to Pisces on September 1st. We'll talk about that later. But this is a time, especially you even had Mars is up in your career sign of Libra, where just more is being asked of you at the moment. We were having eclipses in Aries and Libra in 2023 for beginning of 5. So you're kind of cycling out of that period of your life. With Saturn going back into Pisces on the 1st, it's beginning to highlight a space that's about education, information, ideas. And even with this Virgo This Virgo new moon, it's about your beliefs. What do you stand for? What do you believe in? What do you think is true? Your higher education, travel, exploration, and a sense of right and wrong. So these two spaces, Pisces and Virgo for you, are very much about how you see the world. Your sense of how big is the world for you, the role that you play in it, how you think, how you listen, how you learn. And it might very much be about education or travel or maybe even philosophical matters as you go into September. These eclipses that we will have, they don't hit strongly upon the points that, let's say, they did for 2023 and 4. But these eclipses could be, especially with this new moon that we're going to have this week, could be about travel over the next 4 weeks, or priority is on education over the next 4 weeks, or maybe you want to publish something, maybe you want to teach something. But in general, especially with Saturn going back into Pisces, it's like you need to stand behind something. And it could even be matters of faith. Aquarius. So Saturn is your planet, and as I speak, Saturn has retrograded all the way back to the very beginning of Aries. So Saturn has been retrograde since July 13th, and Saturn is poised to leave Aries. It's sort of like beginning to come to the end of its preview, and it will go back into Pisces on September 1st. So from September 1st until February 13th of 2026, you need to wrap up an old story, one that began in March of 2023 approximately. It is about your voice. It is about communication, how you think and listen and learn. I think I've used, with Saturn and Aries right now, that's where the focus is. How you think, how you listen, and how you speak, how you communicate. But going back into Pisces, it's going to be about money, income, finance, material stability, and security. Which brings me to this new moon that we have on the 23rd of August. It's one that I've had my eye on, mostly because of its connection to Uranus and Gemini. Gemini is for you, your sign of creativity and self-expression. It's possible with this new moon that there is something about self and identity that's really coming to the forefront over the next 4 weeks. Could be, even with Saturn going back into Pisces, about self-worth and value. If it's not about identity and self and really needing to get to the deepest parts of who you are, it could be about money, income, and finance. So for you, Virgo is something called your 8th sign. The 8th, from a very traditional perspective, it is your finance, your assets, the wealth that you have, the assets that you can sort of have access to. It's shared resources with a partner. It's your 401k, but the 8th is also mortgages and I'm getting really traditional for a second, and like debt and finance, for example. So over the next 4 weeks, for some Aquariuses, it's very much about money. Where are you putting your money? How are you spending your money? What's of value and importance to you? The resources that you have access to and needing to work to perhaps even to create new ways of gaining resources, for example. For some, it's about debt, taxes. I know it sounds very boring, but sometimes that's how the 8th shows up. And for some Aquariuses, it's about legacy. What is the legacy, whether that's a financial legacy, what is the legacy, emotional legacy that you are creating and navigating? For some Aquariuses, it's very emotional. It's about trust. It's about vulnerability, power, control, and needing to get into the deepest parts of you. And that's why for some, especially with Uranus now in your 5th sign, it's like with who are you is a question of needing to strip away the things that you aren't really you. So the next 4 weeks, even with that solar eclipse to come in Virgo on September 21st, could be hitting on some deep emotional themes. If something's coming up, Aquarius, is just sort of the question, checkpoint, who can help you to navigate this time? Because if you have big emotions coming up, which could very likely happen with the next 4 weeks, there's a need to not talk around them, which is more of the Aquarius MO, but to use it to be a very productive time to really shift and move things internally. Um, Pisces. So here we are. We've come to the end, and your Jupiter is your planet, and Jupiter, as of June 9th, is in Cancer. So Cancer, fellow water sign. I don't know if you have felt any difference since the beginning of June, because you've gone from air, which is where Jupiter was in Gemini 2024, to 5, which is more ideas, more information, more thinking, more conceptual, to water, which is feeling, emotions, movements, emotional bonds and connection, for example. This is a time where a lot of the focus of your energy is around the self. What are the things that light you up and give you joy and give you passion? The self in the purest form. There is only one you in the universe, and over the next 11 months, 10 months, it's to really get back in touch with who you are and the things that, maybe after Saturn was in Pisces 2023 to 5, like, you need Jupiter in this space to really help you to get back to perhaps even some of the lighter things. We do have, it's a big time to be a Pisces, and in addition to everything that I've said, because we have a Virgo new moon on the 23rd of August. We have a Virgo solar eclipse on the 21st of September, and Virgo for you is your relationship sign. Relationships mean different things to different people, but we are all human beings. We cannot live in a vacuum. We have what I call capital R relationships. These are the major relationships of our life that run the gamut from friends to family to intimate relationships to our lowercase r relationships. And these are the people that populate our life. So with eclipses in this space, there was a lunar eclipse back on March 14th. It's a very dynamic time in your life. It could be where relationships have been in the spotlight early this year, or maybe it's about new beginnings in relationships. You're starting a relationship, starting a partnership. You and a partner are moving in together, or perhaps it's a serious relationship, or maybe it's the end of a relationship. That's the thing. It could be different things to different Pisces. You will have a lunar eclipse in Pisces on, hey, that's your sign or your rising sign, on September 7th. There was an eclipse in Pisces back on September 17th of last year, 2024. So it's to sort of try to find the common thread between September, December, March, June, and here we are almost to September of 2025, because it's been weaving something in your life. It's been about new beginnings. It's been about relationships. So this eclipse, this new moon on the 23rd, it's not an eclipse, but it opens up an eclipse season, is directly square Uranus. So you now have Uranus in your 4th sign, the sign of home, family, roots, foundation, apart from the fact that it will be only in Gemini until November of 2025. It will be in Gemini in total for 7 years. It's hard to say what this is going to mean for you, because it's very personal. It's personal to your life. If you have felt trapped by the past, for example, Uranus is like, why are you trapped by the past? If you need to completely change what home and family mean to you, then that may likely change over the next 5, 6, and 7 years. Some Pisces risings will make a major move. They'll make a move that looks where their home environment looks very different than it does now. Or maybe it's not a physical move, it's an internal move. Like I've been saying for some of the other signs, just use this time, especially as we come up to the new moon, and even as we get into September, to reflect, to observe, to listen to your intuition. What do you sense is on the horizon? Where do you feel the call to perhaps make a big change or a major reinvention? Or what are the themes that are coming up in family? Maybe you're like, I don't have a family, Katie. And maybe that's the most radical thing that can happen over the next few years, that you finally find your place that you can call home. So there you go. That is your look at the astrology of August 18th through 24th, 2025. Yeah, so big things happening in the sky, and this is a lead up to the big things that are happening in the sky as we go into September, to eclipses in September. And like I said in the introduction, I'm doing things a little bit differently this year. I'm trying something different, and I'm doing a workshop on September 6th, so Saturday, September 6th, from 1 to 3 p.m. approximately Eastern. And this is to really create more intimate, sacred space for us to sort of find space to connect to our intuition, to connect to our higher guidance. I'm going to be facilitating it, and so for you to begin to listen and dialogue with the planets, I use something called the 12 rooms approach, where astrology isn't just time, it's a space. It's a space that's your space, but also collective space. And really powerful things can happen when we are in a group environment. So you can go to my website, empoweringastrology.com, the show notes. You can learn all about this workshop in 3 weeks, and I really hope you can join me. So I will see you all on the flip side. I will see you all next week, and we will see what is going on with the sky. So in the meantime, take care. Bye-bye.